My name is Jamie, and I'm a yoga teacher. So I'm making this video because I was originally going to give it to a friend, and then I found out that you can't send very long videos over email, and so the only option is YouTube. So now this video is for anybody watching, so thanks for watching, that's cool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about what yoga is. And then I think this is going to turn into a small series of like easy things that we can all do, like in our house, or like sometimes I take a second to like step out of work and just like breathe and then come back. So at any moment during the day, you can just stop and take a second for yourself. So I think how I'm going to start this is like, what is yoga? And the answer we get in the Yoga Sutras is Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. And this means that the restraint of mind stuff is yoga. So like, what does that mean? It means that everybody's life is chaotic and stressful, and like we get overwhelmed sometimes and anxious and depressed and all of these things. I've studied psychology for a while in my own personal life, and I realized that these things are just biological things. Like, they are what we get when we pop into this world. It's a stressful world. This is just part of the human experience. And so, yoga is the way that these ancient yogis came up with of how to deal with this. You can figure out how you want to deal with the stresses of life any manner. That's your human right. You do what you want to do. I'm going to talk about how to do it with yoga. And so luckily we have a very nice system that's already been laid out to us by this guy. His name is Patanjali. And what happened is that like so long ago, he told his students like, hey, everybody's been getting confused about this yoga thing. There's so many different types now. So like, I'm just going to tell you what it is so that we can stop being confused. And this same principle applies to now. It doesn't matter what anybody is teaching. We are all doing the same thing. And that is the point of being a yoga teacher. It is, I'm going to teach some mental peace. This is how you find it. This is the system of finding mental peace. Okay, so that's what he says. He starts out with like, I'm going to tell you what yoga is, and then he says yoga is the restraint of mind stuff. So then he comes up with this very helpful little tree, which we call the 8 limbs of yoga. And it's essentially like a guide for how to manage the mind. So I'm going to explain it, and then, from there we'll see where we go. Right, so it starts with the yamas and niyamas, which are essentially internal and external ethics. So like contentment with life and don't hurt other people. And that's a conversation for another day. And then we have what happens when we sit on the mat. And this is the process of yoga. Internal and external ethics are something you handle in your daily life. And you can bring onto the mat. These are still concepts we can bring on the mat. So I'm going to talk about one. One is satya, which is truthfulness. And this means that, be truthful with yourself and everyone around you. This is where you are in your practice. It doesn't matter where anybody else is in their practice. This is just you and your life and you taking the time to understand yourself. And so part of understanding ourselves is understanding our limits with our bodies right now, or like what we like, what we don't like. And then also like, giving yourself a little bit of forgiveness if like you're not perfect yet. Like, so you don't have mental peace right now. Okay, most of us don't. Anyway, so we're gonna move on. And we're gonna start our yoga journey. So when I do yoga, I sit on the mat and then I start stretching. And well, maybe I like center myself first with an Om, just to make the space like time for yoga. So I might do an Om, which is the sound of the universe. And, you know, the purpose is to connect with everything around us. And you're just centering yourself in the moment. That's why we start with an Om. And then we start practicing the asanas. So, asanas are just the little poses we do. And, you know, we store a lot of tension in the body. So, like, our mental tensions physically manifest in our bodies. And, you know, when we start stretching them, like maybe we are stretching out our hips. This is Baddha Konasana, so maybe I'm stretching out my hips. And I might have like a memory pop up. And I'm like thinking about this memory while I'm doing yoga. That's me processing this memory. And that's anybody who's a person processing this, whatever comes up. And then you release it. You know, it's dealt with. And that's the asanas. We release the tensions in the physical body so that we can have less tensions mentally. And you know, when we're sitting and meditating, you don't want to be thinking like, oh, my back hurts, because then you're uncomfortable and then you don't want to sit there. So, you know, we get rid of all these tensions and then we start meditating. After you do the asanas, the way I was taught, and like everybody can do this different, but the way I was taught in my practice is that like we do the meditation part after, but the whole thing is a meditation. So once we do the stretches, then we have Shavasana, where we take lie down time and we just like, you know, close the eyes and you get in a really peaceful state of meditation through this. Shavasana is very cool. It's a totally different video. And then we start practicing our pranayama once we come out of this. The reason why is what my teacher told me is that after deep relaxation, you can more readily feel the effects of pranayama, but pranayama can be practiced at any given moment of your day. Like I think I mentioned that I do it sometimes just like at work or something when I'm stressed out. So we move from the asanas into the next phase, which is pranayama, and this means breathing. So when we breathe, we're calming down our nervous system and like taking it into our control, because our breath is directly connected to this. And we're also like, regulating the oxygen levels in the body, and this helps with like neural function, and it helps with tissue function. So like we're like doing a lot by just breathing and thinking about breathing. So the pranayama part, like, okay, we did all this stretching, and now we're calming everything down, and this helps center us. It's really quite amazing. Like, you start breathing, and then, you know, that initiates the whole rest of the process, which we're going to start. After the pranayama, we have pratyahara, which is the withdrawal of the senses. And this is best explained by, like, okay, you've started breathing now, and it's easy to get distracted. Like, okay, maybe there's a person over there, or the dog's barking, anything. So what we're doing is like taking a second to just be completely within the self. I am focusing on me and my life and my journey right now, and nothing else. Sometimes it can be hard, but you know, that's what pratyahara is. So now that we've let go of everything around us, we can move into our meditation. So then we get into the next limb, which is dharana. Here we go. And this is our focus. So, you know, like I said, the mind is very chaotic. So let's focus it. That's the idea behind this concept. We can do this through mantras, or like focusing on the breathing. So like maybe I'm listening to the sound that my breathing makes in the pranayama practice, because this is all still happening at the same time. Like I'm still sitting there just breathing right now in my meditation. So I can maybe like focus myself by listening to the sounds my breath makes, or I can use a mantra, which is a mind tool. So it's like a word or a small little song that means something significant and is more, you know, it's essentially more interesting than like what's for lunch. It's like peace, or you can think about love, and let that be your mantra. Mantra can be in any language you so choose. It doesn't matter. In yoga, we use Sanskrit, but you can use whatever you want. So once we have our focus and like how we're guiding our meditation, then, we reach dhyana, which is right there. And this is the state of meditation. How I explain this to my students is like, you come to a point where you realize you have no idea how much time has passed. You are just meditating now. And then you notice that this meditation started the second you got on the mat. The whole time you were stretching, you were in your zone. And now that we're sitting and being mindful, you're still in your zone. This is all you time. This is the time that we're taking for ourselves. We're sitting there, and we're practicing loving ourselves. And others. Loving ourselves and others. Just to clarify. Anyway, so the state of meditation is like you just feel concentrated and like, focusing the mind. You're actively rewiring your neural network in this moment. So, once we start practicing this, like instead of letting the mind do whatever it wants, like, oh, I'm scattered everywhere, you're starting to focus it and guide it your own way so that like if something stressful does happen, you can control how you respond. And so then we end our 8 limbs with samadhi at the bottom right there. So samadhi is explained as the state of union in the Yoga Sutras. So I'm going to explain it as it's a state of mental peace. It's a state of just feeling content with life and everything around you. And the purpose is that we find this peace and then we hold on to it and bring it into our daily life and maybe share it with others because that's nice. And, wherever you are in your yoga journey, like maybe you just instantly have peace the second you start practicing. That's awesome. But, it doesn't have to be that. It can be your own journey. And it can be something that you see over time has really helped you. And, you can also see it as like, I don't like that much. This is your journey. Who cares? You can, the point is that this is the way that yoga explains how to cope with life. It does not mean that life is going to be super simple and easy now. It's just like this is how they have figured out to understand the mind and then actively change their own lives. So that about wraps it up. I hope that this video was useful for anybody watching. And yeah, thanks for visiting my channel.